On May the 27th, 2019, I uploaded a building tips and tricks video on how to make paths. I went through a couple of examples and went through my preferred methods of building paths and showed you, in general, how to build them. But sometimes I find it can be hard to get started. It's often difficult to know which blocks look best and how I can use them to my advantage. So, to go hand in hand with my older video, I am making a list of 10 different paths that you could use to get your creative juices flowing and to get a rough idea of how you want to build paths in your own survival or creative world. To begin with, we have a Badlands path. This fits perfectly inside of Badlands or Mesa biomes, and it uses blocks including smooth red sandstone, terracotta, granite, polished granite and bricks. As well as this, it has the occasional bit of podzol and coarse dirt where I place dead bushes, ferns and cacti just to break up the path a bit and make it look a bit more natural, and also add some greenery to add contrast to the really red colours. I've also got features around the path, including these spikes and also these arches, just to decorate it a bit and add some interest to it. I especially like this arch because you feel like you're really immersed with the terrain. Going backwards and forwards through it really brightens up the path a bit and makes it a lot more fun to venture through. I often like to add features like this because it makes people actually want to walk along the path rather than skip it as much as possible. Next up, we have a warm, summery agricultural path, and this mostly consists of grass paths, coarse dirt, stone and oak slabs. Now the stone breaks up ever so slightly, but you don't really want too much of it, and you do want inclinations and ascents just to add a little bit of variation and make it an interesting, fun little walk. On the sides you want some wheat, some sunflowers, lilacs and rose bushes just to add lots of colour, make it feel warm, summery and vibrant. Of course, however, you can use whatever crops and flowers you want. However, I personally think the double tool variants add a lot of colour and stick out quite nicely. I also have some features such as hay bale stacks and a scarecrow just to add some interest, some features just to look at when you walk past, and I have some torches to light it up. You don't want mob spawning in your fields after all. Next up, I have a jungle rope bridge, and I really like this because it feels quite makeshift, quite primitive, and it really adds some life to your jungles, and it also kind of feels like it will fall apart pretty quickly. I've used oak fences to act like ropes across the bridge, and I've also used campfires, spruce slabs and spruce trapdoors just to add some variation with the ground, a few different colours such as the greys to contrast with the browns, but it still adds a nice amount of variety and it does feel quite rickety and quite liable to collapsation. And below it, to just add some sense of danger, we do have some spikes in the rapids and just some sort of scary drop that you don't really want to fall down in because, I mean, these spikes do look a tiny bit painful. Next up, we have a modern day pavement. So this is some sort of town or cityscape with a road along here. Now, of course, a road may sound simple, just some tarmac with black concrete powder, some white concrete powder, or if you're in the States, yellow concrete powder, and just some pavement with some andesite and stone just to texture it a bit. However, there are a few details you can include. For example, you can include drains, such as these ones here, bins made of concrete with the bits of litter and rubbish around the side, some manholes with drains and things on the inside, and zebra crossings or pelican crossings or whatever you want to call them, where you go down slightly and cross like so. Overall, this is a very simple but also very modern design that you may want to include in more modern cityscape areas. My next path is more of a medieval path, and once again, just like my Badlands path, it actually sits upon the ground rather than being dug into it. Now on the side I have the occasional bit of broken off wall with some fences and torches just to light it up slightly, but the road itself mostly consists of cobblestone, andesite, dead coral and stone. Down the sides we have lots of double tall grass and ferns with leaves and coarse dirt, but mostly it's just ruined and fallen and crumbling. Unlike the Badlands one, it actually sits about 3 blocks above the ground, which makes it a little more noticeable and makes it stand out ever so slightly more. It also used contrasting blocks of grey rather than green, which makes it stand out even more, while the Badlands path is a little less noticeable on its own. Next up, we actually have a path for more snowy biomes, possibly tundras or taigas, or just some sort of snowy plains. Now with snow, you don't want it to look like the snow has settled around the path, you want it to look like the path has been dug through the snow, because snow just falls wherever it wants, it doesn't make way for you to walk through it. So stack up loads of snow on the side and dig out a path in between, just to make it look like the path has been dug out, and add the occasional snowy feature such as a dead bush or a fern, and maybe some ice here and there. Overall, this is a very simple design, although it can look complex at first, and it definitely fits into more snowy biomes. For my next design, I've actually used some honey blocks here. I'll let you figure out where they are for now. However, the main thing about this is that it uses podzol, grass paths, and coarse dirt. We actually have a river feature here, and this, I'm thinking it will mostly fit into a woodland area, so the water flows through some stone stairs and slabs, and a nice log feature sits over it, just as acting like some sort of path. The roots could actually sink into the ground quite a bit, so it's quite noticeable as a log, and it's not just a plain bit of wood that's just been placed there. You can also add features like this fallen log, and you could add some sort of fox tunnel like this down below. I've also got some foliage such as rose bushes and berry bushes, as well as leaves, lilacs, mushrooms, all sorts of things. It makes it feel quite dense, quite woodlandy, and very natural and not at all man-made. Now, this I actually showcase in one of my honey videos, my honey hack videos, and it's actually using honey. Now, as you may know, you can't jump very high with honey, and this is a mud pit using brown carpet just to make you sink and you can't really get out. Now, if you need to, you can use the soul sand to get out. I'm not that mean, but if you've got some sort of adventure mode map, then you may want to use this as some sort of trap that they can't actually get out of. Now, this has got to be one of my favourite designs. This is a sort of a swamp biome design. That's probably what I'd use it for the most, maybe over some sort of river, but I feel like a swamp works best. Now, the bridge itself uses all sorts of blocks, particularly spruce planks, stripped spruce logs, campfires and spruce trapdoors, with the occasional pressure plate. It's supported with oak logs with slabs or lanterns on the top to add some light to it, and it sits directly into the riverbank. Now below it I have all sorts of blocks decorating the way. I have seagrass, kelp, sea pickles which kind of light it up a bit, and loads of different blocks adding texture. Also, if you have some sort of sea area, you could use dead coral fans to act as some kind of barnacles. Don't forget that since it's by the water, this will probably have a lot of moss on it, so make sure to replace any cobblestone with mossy cobblestone, and to add things like vines and ferns across the side just to look like some sort of plant or foliage or moss. And to make it seem even more swampy, you could hide campfires below it to add some sort of steam. I really like how that works, and it makes it seem even more immersive, hot and steamy. My penultimate design is more of a desert path, and this is also one of my favourites. It definitely works really well. My main blocks are sandstone, sand, stripped birch and birch planks, and I've put slopes and dunes of sand and terrain just around to sort of make it seem like some sort of valley, just increasing the height around the path and making it seem a little more immersive. I've got little areas, little rocky outcrops with dirt and dead bushes with cacti here and there, and I've got torches lighting the way. Of course, if this is a desert, so you may not want the torches, however I can imagine this going to some sort of bandit camp with torches lighting up the way. And for my final design, I actually have a woodland area, or more of a plains biome actually. This is a really fun design, and it's probably one of the most basic designs you can come up with. This primarily uses granite, coarse dirt, podzol, and the occasional bit of stone pressure plate and stone buttons, with ferns, grass, rocks and trees around it, just adding some decoration. This is a nice tree feature. I've actually done a video on trees. You could have roots going across the path, mushrooms and beehives, and I've also got rocks which I'll go into in another video, which actually fit nicely into the ground and separate themselves from the floor. And there we have it for this building lists video. I've got 10 path designs which I hope have allowed your creative juices to flow, and I hope you've got some new ideas on how to build paths inside your world. Let me know if you'd like me to do some more examples of different things, possibly chairs, tables or furniture items, and let me know what else you'd like to see in a list for this series. So there we have it. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please as usual leave a suggestion down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.